Hi there, folks. How are you doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and the soul. And it's titled From Nothing to Everything, Giving Birth to Love Through Our Lives. It's an Easter reflection. Easter begins with the empty tomb. Easter begins with despair and fear. Easter begins with a sense of emptiness, of nothingness. In the account in Mark's Gospel, when the women go to the tomb, they find it empty. And when they do, they flee in terror and they say nothing. The real miracle is in what follows, that the power of love that comes to life from this nothingness, from this emptiness, really. And surely this is something that we can all relate to at one time or another, the sense of losing everything, of everything being lost, or certainly everything that really matters, of nothingness really. And this is the essence of the whole Easter mythos, that love can grow once again from this nothingness, from this utter emptiness, from this despair. That abundant love can once again grow in our hearts, in our spirits, and that we can incarnate this in our own fragile human lives. That this love can be poured out onto our world that so desperately needs it. And it needs it as much today as when they found the tomb empty some 2,000 years ago. I believe that to bring this love to life is our task, our religious task, if you like, to once again bring the love that was so evidently present in the life of Jesus, to bring that love alive in our human being, in our frail flesh. We can do it, I believe. I still believe in that. We do not need to be afraid, or we don't have to be ruled by fear. We do not need to flee in fear. We just need courage, gentle courage. And that courage, which is from the heart, will sustain us in our lives. We just need to fill the empty tomb, the husk of our bodies, with that abundant love that is present in all life. Fill it to overflowing, if you like, and pour it out on the world that needs it. That's how I see Easter anyway. That's how I understand Easter. That's kind of what Easter means to me. But I'm sure it probably means something very different to you, and I'm sure there are many people that say that's not what Easter's about. But that's what it means to me. Maybe consider what it means to you this Easter day. Something to think about. Easter is seen through many, many lenses, some very, very clear, some very, very precise. Some folk are very, very certain as to what Easter means, what Easter is about. Others, though, are less clear, and they see Easter through a kaleidoscope of many, if you like, a moving kaleidoscope of many different lenses. How do you see it? It seems there are many layers to the Easter mythos. It surely is but surely Easter, with its tradition that predates it, even the word itself, which is only called Easter really in the English-speaking countries of the world. The Latin countries call it something very different. But surely the Easter that we understand is a universal festival of the heart, much like Christmas really, that can touch us deeply if we allow it to. Part of the mythos predates the Christian story, certainly Christianity in this country. To be touched by the magic of Easter, you don't have to believe in the actual bodily resurrection of Jesus. You can believe in Easter without having to accept that this actually happened. In fact, to focus purely on this is probably to miss some of what the mythos of Easter can teach us. There's a deeper richness going on there. What seems clear to me is that Easter is about the power of love, that power of love that grows again from that empty tomb, hope from despair. Whatever we may think about bodily resurrection, Something definitely lived on beyond the physical death of Jesus. While his body may no longer have remained in the empty tomb, some beautiful aspect of his life certainly did. Love was born again, even after the body was brutally murdered and killed. Do you know what? I've experienced this love deeply and personally. I've touched it, if you like, or it's touched me. A few years ago, when Sue and I were together, we visited Israel. What an incredible experience that was. We felt the love, the magic of the place. And we had a beautiful day in the old city of Jerusalem. It touched me deeply, far beyond my understanding. There were many incredible memories that will stay with us forever. Certainly last longer than the marriage did. And one of those moments took place in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Not in the ornate places of worship, but where the people seemed to gather together, throng together, huddle together. There were hundreds thronging together in this strange cave-like structure. And the real powerful moment for me took place at the stone slab which many people, mainly women actually, were touching. It is claimed that this was the stone on which Jesus was laid to rest. Sue and myself decided that we looked at each other and said, shall we touch it? Shall we? What's going on here? We got caught up in what was going on. And so we touched it together. And as we did, we looked at one another in our eyes and we just burst into tears. Something happened. We just became overwhelmed by the most intense feeling of love. And we both experienced it right in that moment. And we both said that to one another. Now, I've had similar experiences, some beautiful, others horrible actually. They were all beyond my understanding. Now, in that moment, it may have been that we were just caught up in the love being poured out by those present, or it may have been something more. I don't know the answer to that. All I know is that we were both utterly overwhelmed by this incredible, beautiful feeling of love. It was overwhelmed. We just wept. It was incredible. I have had other similar experiences during my life. All unique, but yet they had similarities. That feeling was always the same. Something powerful about love. Deep, deep love. Right in the core of your being, you feel it. So it seems pretty clear that the love that was at the core of Jesus' life has lived on. But sadly, throughout the last 2,000 years, so many who have claimed his name have not lived by that love. In fact, they have lived by anything but that love, sadly. And we see it today. If I know anything, I know that love lives on if we live by love. But that doesn't answer the puzzle of resurrection, does it? Knowing that love lives on, people's memories live on. And now, like Easter, really, resurrection probably means something very different to each and every one of us. Whatever it means to you, I hope you at least live by that meaning. I try and live by my own. I have an idea of what resurrection means to me, I suppose, and it's certainly not the traditional view, not the orthodox view, very unorthodox view, but that I am a nonconformist I am a nonconformist. As I look at my life, I've experienced many deaths to what I thought I knew throughout my life, and I've experienced what it means to live again beyond those seeming deaths. I feel I know what it means to experience that kind of a resurrection, to finally wake up from an earth-bound slumber. And I know I'm not alone in this. How many other people have described similar feelings? Resurrection to me is about bringing to life the love even after death, to create something beautiful even from the most horrendous grief, from the most despairing loss, from the utter devastation of despair, where your heart, it just feels like your whole heart's been ripped out. It seems from that emptiness, from that nothingness, love comes again. From nothing comes everything, it seems. My whole life seems to be a journey of going from nothing to everything. I believe in everything, I think, these days, and that little bit more than everything, it seems. So often from the most grotesque ruins of life, the most beautiful things have grown. I would never have become a minister, be the man that I am today, but for the loss of perhaps the most important person I ever met in my life. Someone I only knew for about 4 years, maybe a little more than 4 years, who only lived a little over 6 years. Coming to terms with that loss from the ashes of that suffering, this life I know now grew. From that despair, a new beginning was born. But it came from the deepest, most horrendous suffering I've ever known in my life. I often think of Easter when I think of Ethan's life and Ethan's death. That utter despair in his death and what grew from that. He had such an impact on my life. I often say he was my Emmanuel, really. And in so many ways, my life is a dedication to what he revealed to me, both in his life and in his death, actually, which was an incredible agony. I've never known an agony like the moment of his death. And yet, I only learned that he had died an hour later, but I experienced something in that moment, even though I didn't know what was happening. It was one of those most overwhelmingly powerful experiences of my life, the most excruciatingly painful one, I have to say, I've ever known. It felt like the whole of my insides were just ripped out of me. I've never felt anything more violent internally, at least. But somehow from that agony, a new life was born. But it took me a long time to recover. A long time. And I've lived a life since. A life I didn't know was possible. A life of deep meaning, deep purpose. But not without more pain and more suffering, but then all life is full of that, isn't it? But I live a life today. I've heard it said that the greatest sin is the unlived life. To find yourself at the end of your life full of regret for the things you have done, the things you have failed to do. To not make the most of the incredible gift that is this life. To not bring alive what is within us. So often in life we postpone what our heart desires, usually because of fear. I certainly have at times. I have allowed fear to stop me living this life I have been given, over and over again. I have allowed the frontier of my soul to be inhibited even by fear. Not always my own fear, by the way, but the fear, others' fear that I've taken on board. But I think, if I'm really honest with you, in my life, what I have feared more than anything else was what was already within me. I have believed that there was something wrong with me fundamentally. What a terrible way to live. And in some ways, Ethan revealed that there was something beautiful in me. It was reborn again, that too. But what I feared so long, was what was actually deep down within me. And yet that's the most beautiful part of our being. That's where that love is born again. And we only have this day. We only have this time. What are we going to do with it? We have to live it. We have to bring forth what is within us, to incarnate love in our lives, to become fully alive. The 2nd century philosopher Irenaeus said, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. This is truly bringing love alive in our lives. If you want to know the divine presence in life, then all you have to do is to find the courage to live fully alive and then to bless the world with your loving presence and inspire others to do. Encourage, give that core, that love to them too. That's what Easter's about to me. That's what Easter means to me. To bring to life the love in our own hearts and our lives. This, I believe, is what grows from the emptiness of that tomb, when that stone is rolled away, when love is born again, from nothing to everything. I'm going to end this devotion with a little bit of Mary Oliver. I'm going to share what was actually the favourite poem of another dear friend who sadly died far too young, Jane Barraclough, a wonderful colleague and dear friend, and for a very short time she was actually my minister just before I entered training myself. Jane is responsible for awakening my love for poetry, actually. It was her that brought that alive in me. So Jane too lives on in my ever-growing love for poetry, actually. Beautiful. So here's a poem that she used to sign. The last bit she would sign off her emails with. It was like a signature on her emails whenever she sent them. So here it is, Mary Oliver's The Summer Day. The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? The grasshopper. I mean the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous, complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. So this is a thank you really to all those souls who have taught me to love life. They taught me to love life through both their life and their death actually, and whose love lives on in my heart and the hearts of so many of us. So, question to leave you with this Easter morning, this Easter day. What do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Happy Easter. Amen. I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. You know we can all bless. How many have blessed me? And we bless one another and we bless life by giving ourselves fully to life. So some final words of blessing. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, may this love be in us and among us, now and always. And may we carry this love with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, and in all that we do. Happy Easter. Amen.